Hey there everybody, it's Yubing here again, day 2, park testing. It's a little windy out there today, hope you're inside, warm with a nice big cup of coffee. So you know when you got x to the second power, that's going to give you a parabola, either a happy face or a sad face. You know x squared is a quadratic. It's going to give you a parabola. Some things you learned, you know, in standard form, you got A, B, and C. A is going to control your flip, and C is going to control your y-intercept. Positive A, happy face. Negative A, sad face. And C is going to be your y-intercept. We also learned vertex form, A, H, and K. You still know A is going to control your happy face, sad face. H is controlling your horizontal. And K is going to control your vertical. Lastly was factored form, which is going to control your zeros. You remember, add two numbers, they've got to give you your coefficient. Multiply those two numbers, they got to give you your constant. These would represent where the graph hits 0 when you get x isolated. So let's look at this problem. Part A asks you to match the equation to the graph. So we know this is in standard form, A, B, and C, with a positive y-intercept. So it could be graph 1, it could be graph 2, it could be graph 3 because they're all positive y-intercepts, but it cannot be graph 4 because it has a negative y-intercept. Can't be 4. We also know A is positive, so it's got to be a happy face. So it could be graph 1. Now it cannot be graph 2. And it could be graph 3 because it's got a positive y-intercept and a happy face. Let's look at equation C. Well, equation C is written in vertex form, A, H, and K. And we know the vertex has to move 6 right, 8 up. So let's see which graphs show a movement of 6 right, 8 up. Well, this vertex could have been 6 right, 8 up. This vertex was to the left and then up, so it can't be C. This vertex was to the right and then down, that can't be C. And this vertex was to the left and then down. So the only graph that could be equation C is graph 1. We know that for sure. Well, that tells me equation A could have been graph 1 or graph 3. Well, now equation A has to be the only one that matches now, graph 3. So let's look at B and D. They're both in factored form. So these factors are going to represent my zeros. Graph B. When I get x isolated, it's going to give me positive 6. Or x equals negative 8. So that could be this graph, one positive and one negative solution. Or it could be this graph, one positive, one negative solution. Then let's look at equation D. What is the negative on front going to do to our graph? Well, it's going to flip the graph. Which is the only remaining graph that's been flipped? Well, that means this has to be graph D. This has to be graph B. Questions? Please put them in the comments below. You can find all your notes on Edmodo. You can also ask me questions on Edmodo. Alright, have fun. Talk to you tomorrow.